The fourth season of the long-suffering show The Witcher, already without fan-favorite Henry Cavill, without high expectations from the audience, and even without any inflated promises from the producers. It feels like everyone, perhaps even the show's creators, just wants this to end. There was no massive promo push, no sky-high ad campaign. We didn't even know the release date until the last day. We had to Google that. With previous seasons, that information simply lived in the media because people were waiting for them. No talk of cutting-edge tech on screen, no bold new production breakthroughs. What there was around, in fact, was hate, for every conceivable reason. Hate without a glimmer of hope. We at The Old Witcher watched the new season of Netflix's The Witcher, now with Liam Hemsworth replacing Henry Cavill in the lead role. And we'll say this much, there's a glimmer of hope there. There are 10 minutes that genuinely take your breath away. But in truth, those moments make everything worse, because they reveal how wonderful, incredible, even magnificent this show could have been if the creators hadn't drowned in self-regard, ignorance, and a crusade for the right values. So to say, if they simply wanted to make a good show, they probably could have. Instead, the mission was to make a correct show, not a good one, and that is quite sad. This is The Old Witcher, and as always, we thank our patrons for their support. Without you guys, we couldn't release videos at all. Thank you guys. You're incredible. In the meantime, do fix yourselves some warming a drink because it's getting cold outside, and let's talk about why the fourth season of Netflix's The Witcher is total crap. And where exactly, deep in that crap, a few gems might be hidden. Part 1. Total failure. Let us start with the worst elements of this underperformance of a show and only then move toward anything less terrible. We have to begin with the absolute trash heap to capture the hopelessness any Witcher fan feels watching Netflix's show. Season 4 essentially runs 3 parallel arcs: Ciri, Geralt, and Yennefer. And Yennefer's arc is, worst is not enough, abysmal. It is nightmarish, idiotic, and pointless. We can say with complete confidence that this is the worst thing our eyes have ever seen tied to anything resembling cinema. And do believe us, we know what we're talking about. We've watched the first 3 seasons of The Witcher. Here's a quick recap for you guys. Spoilers ahead, and a lot of them. Y'all been warned. Last season ended with the Thanedd massacre. Geralt, being gravely wounded, was nursed back to health in Brokilon and set off to find Ciri. Yennefer and the sorceresses were defeated and began regrouping. Ciri escaped to a portal into the desert and renounced her powers. Vilgefortz suffered a terrible injury, revealed his true intentions, and now struts about as a cackling villain who loves doing evil just for evil's sake. Now let's get back on track. In Season 4, Yennefer is suddenly made the head of a newly formed Lodge of Sorceresses, born out of Aretus's collapse. Yennefer gathers the beaten sorceresses and founds the Lodge herself. It was not Philippa Eilhart, as in the books. It was Yennefer. This season, she is written as the Messiah of the sorceresses. They literally gaze up at her, declare her their leader, and cannot do anything without her. Nothing at all. One of them even gets stabbed to death by some filthy peasant with a knife. A sorceress. Stabbed to death. Yeah, sure. She's on screen for 2 minutes, has zero setup, and means nothing. So if the writers wanted tears, that did not land. We couldn't care less about the deaths of characterless, powerless sorceresses who literally look like hobos and get 2 minutes of screen time with no backstory. Philippa carries an eyeball in her mouth, probably plucked out while she had been transformed into an owl. One of the elven mages, sorceresses that is bald. In the books, sorceresses inspired awe and fear. They radiated strength, allure, and majesty. In the show, they're broken, powerless, life-beaten, and simply pitiful. And pity is the last thing a sorceress should evoke. In trying to crown Yennefer as a strong and a powerful female, Netflix diminishes every other sorceress, turning them into disgusting mockeries. Meanwhile, the elf queen Francesca Finnebair strips naked in public and has sex with a traveling actor while drinking herself stupid. Yep, it's the same Francesca described in the books as the most beautiful woman in the world, the mightiest elf lady, the proudest of her race, unyielding, fearsome, and a beacon of hope to the end shade. Well, you guys do see the artistic concept. Yennefer finds her and turns her into a figurine. Yennefer turns the elf queen into a figurine. Right. Around the same time Yennefer runs into Fringilla Vigo. Gods, we were literally praying the show would just drop her. Her arc is that awful. And instructs her to infiltrate Vilgefortz's ranks as a spy. Meanwhile, Vilgefortz disables all portals and plans to attack Aretuza. Because reasons. Why not? Due to that, the sorceresses now have to walk everywhere. Yeah. Anyways, Yennefer assembles a super team of battle sorceresses who cannot literally do anything. Only Yennefer can. The plan is to repel Vilgefortz's assault on Aretuza. Right? Philippa Eilhart even arrives from Redania just to acknowledge Yennefer's supremacy and fall in line. Elsewhere, Vilgefortz captures Istred and forces him, via illusion, to trawl through tomes to find Ciri. Don't ask about the subplot. We'll just say Istred dies at the end, and thank the gods that moron piece of a storyline is finally over. Vilgefortz also orders the sorcerers serving him to dissolve themselves into some black swamp goo, like offing themselves by magical sludge. The Netflix writers seem to have a fetish for self-annihilation, which we obviously condemn and do not approve. In Season 1, sorcerers burned themselves into fireballs to be launched from catapults. This season, they melt into black goo in some sort of a well of eternity. Lovely. Meanwhile, Yennefer brings to Aretuza, guess who? Witchers from Kaer Morhen, led by Vesemir. And guess what they do? They start teaching sorceresses to fight with swords and shoot bows. Sorceresses. God, why is this happening to us? In 2 days, they somehow train these students into skilled gladiators who mow enemies down left and right. Oh yeah, and among them, there is a dwarven sorceress with a beard and a massive hammer. Just so you guys know. Once the show cut to the storyline, we started skipping. Watching that was difficult. Meanwhile, Vilgefortz catches the spy Fringilla and quote-unquote tortures her by shaving her head. At last, the super team is assembled and Vilgefortz attacks Aretuza. The young students throw up a protective dome over the school while black magic bolts hammer it. Hogwarts, movie number 7, remixed. Yep, the Battle of Hogwarts got recreated in The Witcher. A stupid storyline in a stupid show got literally invented by stupid script writers from scratch. It is so bad, it's almost beautiful. Yennefer literally throws her students into the meat grinder. But hey, she's the Messiah. She can do anything. The sorceresses battle Vilgefortz's mage troops, who look more like cultists. They don't use magic so much as swords, bows, and arrows. You know, classical magical combat. The witches trained them to all of that in 2 days, after all. At the same time, the witchers blast Vilgefortz's mages around with signs. Apparently, Lambert is nearly as powerful as the Sorcerer Supreme. He just never knew that. Vilgefortz kills Vesemir. Thank goodness. Watching Netflix literally twist and muck one of our favorite characters was enough. Ending it was merciful. And then the magnum opus at the end of the piece that nearly made our eyes bleed. Vilgefortz versus Yennefer. Yennefer, by the way, is the only one actually casting spells. No wonder these incompetent sorceresses worship her like a goddess. Then she ragdolls Vilgefortz around the castle. Vilgefortz, ragdolled, the most powerful sorcerer in the world. Of course, Yennefer is literally invincible and undefeatable. And the climax? 2 beams of differently colored magic collide mid-air between Yennefer and Vilgefortz. Harry versus Voldemort all over again. The stronger one wins the beam struggle. We almost expected Vilgefortz to flake into ash like Voldemort, but these writers cannot even steal and mimic properly. He just runs away. The battle is over. A lot of useless, unnecessary sorceresses are dead. Vesemir too. Yennefer is shocked. Suddenly portals start working again because our spies in Vilgefortz's castle, Istred and Fringilla, did something in parallel off-screen. So what is Yennefer's first move? Did she sit and mourn her friends? Did she grieve the girls she threw into the furnace of war? No. She teleports to Emhyr's palace right then and there. Finding the false Ciri, she escapes, swatting aside a few Nilfgaardians. Question: if Yennefer can teleport anywhere, anytime, why not jump into Emhyr's bedroom at night, end him, and leave? Roll the credits. Or why did she not do it a bit earlier? And then, you'll never guess, she teleported straight to Geralt, even though she has no idea where he is. Probably followed the scent. They do it in a tent, and in the morning she's gone. Naturally, amid dead children and fallen comrades, the very first thing our heroine wants is a quick roll in the hay. That is what stirs her soul, you see. It all happens in seconds. Watch the show if you don't believe us. By morning, Yennefer's back at the castle where the surviving sorceresses are cleaning up the mess. No one cares what she did in the meantime. They're just attendants after all, as long as the lady has free time. Oh gods. We've described it all very briefly and in a very restrained fashion. Do believe us. Yennefer of Vengerberg's storyline in the new Netflix season is the worst thing a Witcher fan could see in their life. If you're not a Witcher fan, here's a clearer analogy of sorts. Take the Warcraft universe, something most gamers recognize. Now imagine Netflix makes a show where Arthas is actually a good guy. Uther calls a city and kills Muradin to get Frostmourne. And Jaina forms a squad with Sylvanas and her sisters, who dress like bums and can't do anything until Jaina shows them how. Arthas drinks himself stupid and being gay, sobs on his boyfriend's shoulder, no judgment on orientation here, while Uther marches with hordes of undead slaughtering everything. To stop him, Antonidas orders his mages to kill themselves and turn into fireballs. He's basically a bloodthirsty maniac. Those are just a few analogies. That's the level of dissonance Netflix delivered, except with The Witcher. Everyone more or less knows Warcraft's broad strokes, so the comparison helps non-Witcher viewers feel what we're feeling. Would you guys want that show? Tell us in the comments. I'm narrating this and I still don't understand why we're talking about this show. It is a mumbo-jumbo of random scenes, random ideas, random characters, and random dialogue that add up to nothing. And it makes me sick. If they had to make it fine, should have just called it sort of Crazy Witches, inspired by The Witcher, and called it a day. Just don't call it The Witcher. One more thing, Yennefer and Fringilla communicate like MCU characters, fingers to their ears, via some magical earpiece. That is all. I'm done here. Part 2, Lost Potential. Whew, we're past the worst. The next two parts are shorter and a bit more positive. And it feels, honestly, like Ciri and Geralt were written by far more competent people. This section is about the show's lost potential, how it could have been genuinely great. The moment the writers stopped being smart and simply followed the book's plot twists, you can see clearly. That is especially true in Geralt of Rivia's arc. Geralt, as he should, sets out to find Ciri. Along the way, companions join him. Together, they become Geralt's hands. They travel, get in trouble, and share personal histories. As long as we stick to Sapkowski's writing, it works. It's engaging. Geralt lets Cahir go. He meets Regis in a cemetery. They sip mandrake moonshine by the fire. Regis yanks a hot horseshoe from the coals to save girls accused of witchcraft. Regis saves Geralt. So far, so good. It is interesting. Even if you dislike certain casting choices, the characters act like themselves. The book selves, that is. Clear motives, simple human stakes, an absorbing and interesting journey. You do care whether they live, unlike the Aretuza sorceresses whose deaths land with the emotional weight of a feather. Those fireside scenes with the hands, everyone telling their life stories, they do work. The flashbacks reveal the characters, the bonds deepen. You watch Geralt go from pushing everyone away to protecting the people he travels with. It's good, really good. And then, inevitably, the artists wedge in their storyline. And then we hit another wall. That's why they turned Radovid into a feckless, incompetent drunk pining for a dandelion. A romance that appears out of nowhere in 2 minutes. This is not about orientation. Ask why and think about it. Because the show apparently must have that box ticked this way, even if it breaks rid of its character and grafts on a baseless love plot. Bingo! You've just shit yourselves. The show's Radovid is bullshit. His romance arc came out of the blue and is simply not needed. Come to think of it, Ciri canonically is into women. That is already in the books, and it fits. You did not need to invent anything, but no, gotta add your own touch. After all, the showrunners are better writers than that old Polish guy, right? And it's like that with everything. When the plot more or less follows the books, even with deviations, it's engaging. The moment the writers bolt on their own arcs, it is almost always a mess. A disgusting, meaningless, low-quality mess. Take Cahir. For 3 seasons, he's been a clown, grating and paper-thin. This season, he finally behaves closer to the book Cahir. And what do you know? He becomes a functioning character. Magic. Yet even here, the show cannot resist flipping core backstory. On screen, Cahir's father dies to save him from the Emperor, all while being a tyrant who abuses his son. Why invert that? To what end? What was the reason for these assholes to do that to the book canon? Geralt's arc concludes, as it should, with the battle on the bridge. We have pregnant Milva, guarded by the company, by the hands that is. We have Maeve, queen of Lyria and Rivia, and a goblin straight out of The Hobbit. Let us move on. Everything else about the bridge fight is fine, quite canonical. Geralt is knighted to Geralt of Rivia. It is terrific, genuinely stirring. But one thought about the showrunners just won't leave us. You assholes could have done that. You morons could have made a good show, maybe even a great one. All you had to do was dial down with the hubris, drop the ignorance, and just follow the books, at least on the main arcs. You'd have a show we would praise for decades. Was it really so hard? One last remark at the end of this section. Liam Hemsworth did a fine job as Geralt and proved a worthy replacement for Henry Cavill. Shout out to the actor, he did everything he could. Well, except for that moment where he snaps metal chains with his bare hands. Guys, does Netflix remember Superman is not the main character of the show anymore? Part 3. The Hidden Gem. The last part is the most positive and it confirms the thesis. Had the writers simply followed the books, with these resources they could have made a masterpiece. There is a real gem in Season 4. His name is Leo Bonhart. He's in Ciri's storyline, but let's take it step by step. Ciri's arc is the most adequate this season. She ends up with the rats, goes through a hard road, finds love in Mistle's arms. Here things are mostly fine, or even good. We've got little to complain about. Much is rendered close to the novels, with plenty of references to the books and CDPR games. You can see Ciri change, you can feel her emotions. She truly journeys and evolves. Even the casting here deserves praise. Costumes too. And yes, there are still some goofy moments, but there's already enough negativity in this video. The bottom line is, Ciri's storyline is good and stable. It is genuinely interesting. If you're a Witcher fan, you will probably like it. And it's all so simple. There are very few deviations from the source. That is the recipe. Couldn't they have thought about it before? But the real gem of the season is Leo Bonhart. Oh yes, Leo. He's exactly the bounty hunter, the mercenary from the books we dreamed of seeing on screen. He's cold, charismatic, and evil. You do hate him, but you can't look away. Because he's incredible. And we mean incredible performance, incredible image. Wait a minute, maybe that's because it's so close to book canon. Bonhart hunts witchers and wears their medallions. He's cool and magnetically charismatic, an embodiment of his book counterpart. We can't praise him enough because the last 10 minutes of Season 4 are jaw-dropping. Maybe it was worth trudging through those Yennefer-Vilgefortz battles just to see Leo in action. And once again, it all happens as close to the books as possible. The rats come to see Bonhart. He faces them alone, one versus all, brutally cutting down those arrogant teens like a butcher. He overwhelms Ciri, and he executes missile right before Ciri's eyes. I do feel awful saying this, but we think that horrific episode is the best thing across all 4 seasons. And no, we don't like it when heads roll. This is not about gore, it's about accuracy to canon, a cleanly staged set piece. Bonhart schooling some ignorant teenagers, then there's that hideous massacre, and another searing trauma Ciri must survive. It is thrilling, mesmerizing, and breath-stealing. These 10 minutes are a hidden gem, and a vivid illustration. If the writers had simply done their jobs, Netflix's The Witcher could have been one of the great and popular shows. Period. It is that simple. But arrogance and conceit, writers who for some reason think they're more talented than the author, ruin it, as so often in movies and TV shows. When directors and writers love the source and preserve its canon, they craft something magnificent. But when they despise it and fancy themselves genius pen masters, they wreck it and deliver absolute dog shit. That is a pattern. It rarely fails. In the end, we would give Netflix's The Witcher a 4 out of 10 for whatever that's worth. This show is a barrel of dung and trash, and if you rummage long enough, you'll find a gem. But why rummage? There are countless movies and shows you don't have time for and don't need to dig through to find value. It is also a missed opportunity. Season 4 shows Netflix could have made, if not a masterpiece, at least a piece of decent work. Instead, arrogance, ignorance, and agenda-required and driven political narratives took point. Don't get us wrong. If you haven't watched the new Witcher season, don't bother. It is still a show with a terrible plot, boring dialogues, meaningless arcs, and some truly bad casting. But if anything, do watch the last 10 minutes of the finale. You guys won't regret it. And of course, you guys won't regret liking and subscribing to this channel either. We've got plenty more to come. Thanks for watching, and see you soon when the Young Witcher speaks once more.